The Hilton Hotel in Liverpool today. It's always great to be in the city, and even better when we're bringing World Championship boxing to the city, and even better when you've got one of your own defending his World Championship in the city, and not just any one of your own. The number one in the division, Callum Smith, the reigning WBA, WBC Diamond and Ring Magazine super-middleweight champion of the world, and delighted to confirm his opponent, his mandatory challenger, John Ryder. Of course, on probably one of the hottest spells in the division right now. Stoppages, 4 of them on the bounce against Jamie Cox, Patrick Nielsen, Sorokin, and then Akaway on the Canelo card recently in Las Vegas. He's on a great run of form. And it's so good to have a domestic fight for that World Championship, as I said. You know, I was talking to Callum about the top 15 and looking at voluntary defences. And sometimes it's difficult when you've achieved what he's achieved to really get your teeth into one of those defences. And I know you lot particularly want to see a good fight. You want to see someone that's coming to win. You want to see someone that could achieve their dream of becoming a world champion. And Callum Smith knows that this is a very real test and challenge. He's dealing with his mandatory at the right time. And, you know, we talk about the Anfield fight, and there's a lot of people on this card who will be part of that Anfield fight and that Anfield dream, if you like. And, you know, talks with Liverpool are ongoing about a fight in May. And I know that Callum Smith's not thinking about this, and John Ryder's not thinking about this, but obviously for a city, there is a massive opportunity. And I think everybody on this card, from the Scouse side, who wins, if the big man here wins, then they're going to be coming along for the ride at Anfield as well. But John Ryder has completely different ideas, here to gate crash that party and here to become the world champion, here to win these 3 belts. So this is a great main event on November the 23rd at the Echo, live on Sky Sports, live on DAZN. I have a note from Adam Smith as well, who's flying back from the Errol Spence Sean Porter fight. We saw a great fight on Sky at the weekend, who is delighted. I mean, it was a bit embarrassing taking him to the Liverpool meeting with Callum Smith. This guy just talked about Liverpool Football Club and problems with the defence and, you know, who they need on the wing, and we're trying to do a deal for a fight. But he's a massive, massive Liverpool Football Club fan and a massive Liverpool boxing fan. And I think in terms of, for Sky Sports to have a big domestic World Championship fight on Saturday night, fight night, is very important for Sky, very important for us, and very important for Callum Smith as well. Coming back from boxing on the road in the World Boxing Super Series, winning the World Championships in Saudi Arabia, defending it at Madison Square Garden, now getting a chance to defend his World Championships in Liverpool. And I think you guys are really going to get behind him. Tickets go on sale to Fight Pass members today at 2 p.m, general sale tomorrow. We agreed this fight on Friday, so I've been working behind the scenes on a number of fights and fighters on the card. As usual, we're focusing all on the city, making sure we've got all the best fighters from Liverpool on the card. David Price, going to be co-main event, defending his WBA International Heavyweight Championship. You talk about John Ryder's run. What about David Price's run? I mean, you know, I think so many times people said David Price was finished, he should never fight again. Now all of a sudden puts together 3 good domestic wins against Tom Little, against Cash Ali at the Arena, and recently against Dave Allen. Sees himself back in the world top 15. And, you know, who could rule out an Anfield fight for him next year? His opponent will be announced this week, looking to get another victory, keep moving up those world rankings, and a massive resurgence in the career of David Price. Probably my favourite undercard fight on the card so far, Callum Smith against Craig Glover. I mean, these are the great fights where you speak to the guys who are representing the guys. Oh, you know, Shane McGuigan says, guys, we know Craig Glover, we've sparred with him, tough spars. Tony Bellew says, oh, no, you know, it's a tough fight, that is. Exactly. Do you want it or not? This is your opportunity, both of you, to win a title, to fight on a big TV card. You have to win this fight. Craig Glover, if you want to go forward and you want to win bigger domestic titles, you want to start headlining shows up here yourself, you have to win this fight. Callum Smith, great fight with Richard Riakporhe. He threw himself into that fight in the same kind of risk as this fight. His stock rose so much in that fight, comes back, he's fighting for another title, most likely the Commonwealth title, on this card on November the 23rd. So hats off to both of you, Callum Smith and Craig Glover. This is a brilliant, brilliant cruiserweight fight. Anthony Fowler, come back from the disappointment of the Scott Fitzgerald loss, beat Brian Rose recently over at the Echo as well. and now top 15 in the world, confirmed. Just want to nod your head when I say this, Fowler. Back at 154 pounds, wanting to win another title at this weight, obviously with his eye on the big fight on October the 19th in Newcastle between Scott Fitzgerald and Ted Cheeseman for the British light middleweight title. For me, the rematch between Fowler and either Fitzgerald if he wins that fight, or Cheeseman if he defends his title, huge fights for the city in 2020, and he'll have to make sure that he wins on November 23rd as well. Thomas Whittaker Hart, boxing on October the 19th in Newcastle as well. One of the top young fighters coming through from the city will be in action as well. And we wouldn't have a Liverpool show, would we, without Masha Dodd. I mean, I thought Masha Dodd was done, retired. They came on, and Tom Farrell, who tells me they're actually good mates, now fights Masha Dodd in a great Liverpool fight for the city. Masha, we did this fight, me and Steve Wood, at about 5 o'clock this morning. So Masha's not here. For Tom Farrell, when we talk about fighters jumping in to big fights, he's done it before. You know, he did it against O'Hara Davis. He did it against Philip Bowes. One thing, I reckon Tom Farrell must be one of the nicest blokes you could ever meet. I don't even really know him, but I've never known, I don't think, a bigger ticket seller than Tom Farrell. So obviously you lot from this city have a lot of respect and a lot of love for Tom Farrell, and you should do, because on these cards, he always jumps in to these fights. And this time, the favourite, I believe, going into that fight, this time, there will be another belt on the line for Tom Farrell to win. And although Masha's not here, again, a brilliant individual. And, you know, having spoke to Steve Wood, this is his last crack at the Cherry for another title against Tom Farrell. So we'll start with the guys down here. Tom, firstly with you. Obviously, the Masha fight come probably as a little bit of a surprise. For me, it was the natural fight to make as a promoter. I know you and him are very, very popular. Been involved in some great fights at the arena and expect this one to be no different.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be earmarked for this show anyway, to be honest, and had my eyes on a decent fight to, you know, get the ball rolling and get myself back in contention for 2020. But I think Masha was the last person I had on my mind, and as you said there, we are good mates, and, you know, there's not going to be any animosity. We're not going to be calling each other all sorts. We'll leave that to anyone else who wants to have a go on the show. But yeah, we'll definitely be putting on a good show for the fans, and, you know, I think there'll be loads of us there. There's, as you said, I always have a good crowd behind me, and, you know, the Birkenhead faithful are always there for Masha. Just I think, like you said there, I'm one of the most liked lads in Liverpool, and fighting against one of the most liked lads in the UK, and Masha Dodd, everyone loves him. My birds, dad and my mum and dad as well were like, "What, you're fighting Masha?" I like, couldn't believe it. I think they're half gutted. They're going to have to cheer me on, but no, that's it. We'll put it to one side, and, you know, we'll get in the ring and we'll put a good show on for the fans. And, you know, it's a fight that both of us we had to sort of take, really, coming off a defeat in March, and, you know, 6 months ago, so that's passed since then. I just want to get back active and get the ball rolling. You know, do that on Saturday night with a good win to shake the rust off, and then it's full steam ahead then to the 23rd.
I think sometimes you're thought of as a young fighter still coming through, but you've had those big championship nights at the Echo before. He is a wily old campaigner, Masha, isn't he? I mean, he's got a huge amount of experience. You've seen him, you know, beat Patera, who's now going on and dominating the European lightweight scene. You know, great fights with Scotty Cardle, and you know, other lightweights as well. But is it a case of using your experience that you gain versus his experience that he's sort of carved out over the years to become that sort of wily old campaigner?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's, as you said before, it's his last sort of chances, and he's a bit older than me. I think he tried to blag Steve Wood before and telling me he was only 31, but he's not, he's 35. And I'll be 30 on the 23rd of November, so I'm hoping to be celebrating that night with all my family and friends. And yeah, it's going to be a massive night, and as you said, I've had plenty of big nights. So Sean, you know, our careers have run sort of like parallel, the same sort of time. But I think I'll have enough experience and I'll have enough quality on the night to come out, and, you know, it'll springboard myself back into contention and get my career back on a good path, because the last 12 months have been quite difficult for me, and my career sort of took a bit of a stall, but this, I think, it's a big chance for me to, you know, push on, as you say, get a title and, you know, go from there.
Thank you, Tom. Thomas, out in a couple of weeks in Newcastle. Got to take care of business there, and now getting a run of fights together. They looked great last time out across the road, and looking forward. Obviously, you'll be up to 6 rounds on November 23rd, and going to be great to be fighting on a World Championship card in your city.
Yeah, looking forward to Newcastle, but I've just got to get the job done there, and then hopefully come here then and do my first 6 rounder, put things together, and then hopefully just get another knockout victory.
I know a lot of people in your team talking about once you get these rounds behind you, obviously Newcastle, Liverpool, moving quickly. You've got a fantastic amateur pedigree as well. Looking at the division at the moment, seeing some big fights out you down the road in 2020, but looking at get some momentum and move quite quickly in the pro ranks.
Yeah, I've got a lot of experience behind me of being on Team GB and that, so I'm not really worried about how fast I move, really. I'm just taking it in and enjoying it at the minute. Thanks,
Thomas. Fowler, welcome back. I think a lot less pressure on you this time around than there was at the Echo Exhibition Centre last time against Brian Rose. Topped that bill on Sky Sports JD Next Gen. That was really a fighting for your championship career at that stage. Now a little bit more relaxed, but just as important now to keep going, keep getting these wins, and obviously fantastic to be doing it in the big arena, M&S Bank Arena.
Yeah, obviously it's great to box in Liverpool. It's my third fight of the year, which I'm very grateful to have the chance to fight in front of my home crowd, which is great. And just want to keep winning. Just going to keep winning, get that rematch, put it right, and then move on to bigger and better things.
Obviously, last fight up at catchweight, you're now ranked with the WBO top 15 at middleweight, but speaking to Dave Colwell, want to move to 154. Is that partly because you want that rematch or the Cheeseman fight, so you want to make sure you're campaigning that division as well?
Yeah, of course. It's no point me fighting at catchweights when I'm not going to move up, so I need to make 154, make it well, get used to it, and then when I get the rematch eventually, I'll be ready to wait, I'll be prepared, and I've lost that fight because of the weight. I'd love to make excuses, but I lost it because of my own mental state, and I've learnt my lesson from looking past people and being overconfident. And every fight now, mate, it's like a life or death. I'm treating every fight as a world title fight, and come November 23rd, I'll be ready for anything.
And just finally on that, I know everyone talking about the potential rematch between you and Fitzgerald. He's the challenger going into the Ted Cheeseman fight. The odds are very, very close. You see Fitzgerald coming through that fight?
I'm hoping so. I'll be good to the losers, but either way, I don't really care. I don't care about that belt. If I want to rematch that kid, if I'm honest, I'm not bothered by the belt.
Thank you. Commonwealth title fight up here on the top table. Chris Smith, firstly, again, thank you, not just for taking this fight, but for turning up today. I texted Shane McGuigan yesterday and said, can Chris come to Liverpool? And you were straight here like the pro that you are. A brilliant fight last time out, July the 20th, against Richard Riakapori. Could have gone either way. Big stage for you for the first time. Now you've got it again in another must-win fight.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. So, I'm looking forward to it. I've boxed it was the Echo when I boxed there, but I boxed as an amateur in the ABA, so I'm familiar with the place and the city as well. But last time was a great experience. It's a good fight, one we thought we'd won. We felt comfortable when the final bell went. That's obviously a rematch I'd like in the future. But this fight of Craig, we've sparred before, and Craig's a great lad, but it's just this is business, and it can only be a cracking fight. I'm certain of that.
Is that what you get from those spars, knowing about his style and your style? I mean, you're rarely in a unentertaining fight, but both of you like to come forward, both of you like to exchange, and there's a lot on the line for both of you in this fight.
Yeah, definitely. We only sparred the once, but I think we did 6 rounds, and it was a close spar. It was a good spar. It would have been a good one to watch, and I knew then that me and Craig would meet at some point in the future. It's a cracking fight, and like you said, we both come forward with both exciting styles, and I believe it'll be an absolute barn burner.
Thank you, Chris. Craig, I think these are the fights that unquestionably you're going to get your teeth into every time. You've shared rounds before. Massive moment for your career. Your other crunch fight, Simon Vallily up in Newcastle. You came through that. Obviously disappointment at the Echo before. Now you've got another win, but now championship fights and a massive fight, a massive moment for your career.
I sort of echo what Chris says. Both for stylistically, it's Chris was in a good fight with Riakpo, but stylistically, me and Chris is a really good fight. I mean, the spar we had, You can't take too much from it, but I think people who watch him were like, wow, do you know what I mean? It was so, but yeah, it's a must-win fight for the both of us, so it's all on the line. I think it's just going to gel for potentially fight tonight.
You've got so many British cruiserweights right now who seem to be almost identical in levels. You know, we talk about yourself and Chris and Riakporhe and Sam Hyde and Dion Juma and all these guys right now. Jack Massey, another one to throw in the mix there as well. It's such a great time for the cruiserweights if you continue to fight each other. And that seems to be happening with you guys. You're all willing to step up in 50-50 fights.
Yeah, I mean, but it doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is I've got to win this fight. It's a must win. So there's big fights out there, but this is the only fight I'm thinking of, and this is the fight I've got to win.
Thank you, Craig. Chris, it's a brilliant fight. We look forward to that one, November 23rd. Pricey, I've never seen you so animated as when you beat Dave Allen. You were telling people, excuse my language, to F off and giving them that sign, and you know it was brilliant. So many people so happy for you once you got the win, but obviously it showed what that win meant to you and showed you the desire that you still have in your career. We bumped into each other actually in Ibiza in the summer, didn't we? I don't know how many beers you'd had. I'd had a few, but you started telling me that you didn't want to just be slung into fights anymore. You got to a stage where you were taking fights not just for the money, but just because you didn't know where the next big fight was coming for. So you took fights, as we know, against Povetkin and Kuzmin, and probably fights that you shouldn't have, but you know, obviously have set you up financially. But now it's a different mentality from David Price. You know, you said to me that day in Ibiza, look, I believe I have a big future in the sport, and I believe if navigated properly, I can get a shot at the world title. And now back in the top 15, back here at the Echo Arena, looking to have another big win on this renaissance, if you like.
Yeah, just enjoying the sport again, Eddie. I think the Dave Allen fight was the first fight in a few years that I actually felt like I'd won. Because even when I had won, I was analysing after it. Oh, we ain't good enough, you know, kind of just being a little bit too hard on myself. But that one, I knew it was a performance, and I ticked a lot of boxes. And at the end of it, I've never really used proving people wrong as a motivation, but that felt good to prove people wrong. And I was like, what? This is fucking great. I'm gonna use this again. I'm gonna use this again in future to prove people wrong. So I want people to keep doubting me. But initially after the fight, I was like, right, I can get a big fight now and cash out. Yeah. But then after a week or so, I was like, it's not the time to cash out yet. If I can play my cards right and continue to perform, you know, I can go further. But not only that, it adds to the story, you know, which is already quite interesting. If I could sit down with anyone and tell them the story in my career, I've had some ups and downs. I've had interesting things happen to me, you know. You could write a book about it, but now I'm just glad I've got the opportunity to fight again on the Matchroom show on Sky Live again, because you know my last 5 fights have been on these shows. I've been really enjoying it. The people seem to be getting behind me again, and yeah, it's just onwards and upwards. I just want to build on it and onwards and upwards.
You're still that guy you won't see that. You know, we represent, I don't know, a dozen of the top 20 heavyweights in the world. You're still that guy that when I mention your name, they go, it's a bit risky versus reward, you know, and that fear is still out there for David Price. Do you still feel that? And obviously the confidence that you have now coming off, I don't know, maybe the back of the Povetkin fight or even the Kuzmin fight must be on another level to where you're at right now with your career, because essentially you're backing yourself now. Yeah, look. Every fight's dangerous, but you're not saying put me in the big fight for the big money. You say, no, put me in a fight that's going to advance me to where I need to be.
It's only now that my confidence is up that I can truly recognise that it was down in the past, if you know what I mean. Everything's just feeling flowing, just feeling easy. Everything's lighter for me because I'm enjoying it, and my confidence is back up. And it's when I think back to preparing for the Povetkin fight, preparing for other fights, my confidence weren't there. It was just getting in and being hopeful of winning. But now I'm going to be getting in and believing I'm going to get in and do a job. And it just makes things a lot easier.
Look forward to seeing you at the Echo Arena, and know the support. The arena will be unbelievable for you. We go to Team Ryder, the mandatory challenger for the WBA title. Firstly, a few words from Charlie Sims. Charlie, you come by our office most days, plaguing me about this fight and that fight, and you've pushed John Ryder so hard. Times where we probably thought we didn't know where the next opportunity was going to come from. He got it against Patrick Nielsen, obviously Jamie Cox as well, Sorokin in a final eliminator. The fight come up against Akaway in Vegas. Everyone talking about Akaway as the new star. He trains with Canelo, etc. John put a great performance together, and now one fight away from potentially becoming the number one fighter in the super middleweight division.
This is a huge moment for John Ryder. It's an extremely proud moment, actually, being part of John's team. Anyone who knows John's career knows that he's had all-time lows. There's been times in John's career where we don't know where he's going to go. And this is by far not only the biggest fight John could get, but this is challenging for the number one spot in the super middleweight division. And I think the run of form that John's on, he'll be walking into this fight believing that he's going to win November 23rd. So we look forward to that fight.
John, it has been an incredible run. The Nielsen fight was incredible, and obviously we've been through him, Cox, Sorokin. For me, the Akaway fight was the one where you really came of age. You were on that show, but you were almost like the away fighter there. You were set up to lose that fight from Golden Boy. It was their show. It was their new prospect, and you took him apart. And that was really going in there, risking your mandatory status in that fight. Now, as Charlie said, by far the biggest moment of your life and your career so far.
Yeah, massively. The Akaway fight was a box ticked. I mean, it's a dream to box in Vegas on such a prestigious card, but this is the real dream now, a world title fight.
Obviously moving into 168 pounds, taking you a little bit of time, but now you seem to have moved into the weight perfectly. Tell us about that confidence and that strength. You're coming against probably the biggest super middleweight out there at 168, but full of confidence, and you really believe you have your strength now at that weight.
Yeah, I've got a great team. I mean, Tony's working hard on my boxing. Got Dan Lawrence working hard on my strength conditioning and nutrition, and I just believe that I'm in the best place possible, mentally and physically.
I think people talking about Callum as number one. You've also fought another great super middleweight in Billy Joe Saunders. A lot of people thought you won that fight for the British middleweight title a while ago. Speaking to Charlie and Tony, when they were negotiating for this fight, talking about other options, it was only when we agreed the deal with Charlie that he turned around and said, John's going to be so happy, he wants this fight so bad. This is the reason you got into that mandatory position. This is your chance to become a world champion on November 23rd, and this is the fight that you wanted. Despite people believing you're an underdog in this fight, this is the fight that you wanted.
Yeah, massively. I've worked hard. I've had 4 hard fights. I beat the number one in Patrick Nielsen. It's taken longer than I expected, but we've got there now, and it's a fight I believe I can win. He's a great champion. He beat a great champion to become champion. He's not just gone and won a vacant title. He's gone and beat a champion, and he is world number one, and I want to test myself against the best.
Thank you, John. Callum, back in Liverpool, I know this was important to you as well. It's taken some time. Obviously, a dominating performance over Hassan and Dam at Madison Square Garden. That was another box ticked. And now really looking to put a big run together, starting in Liverpool on November the 23rd.
Yeah, it's good to be back in Liverpool. I said when I turned professional, I believe I was good enough to win a world title and bring a world title back to the city. And this is it now. This is my chance to perform in front of my own fans. And I thought winning a world title was the top of the mountain. And when I won it, I realised it weren't. And there's a lot more I wanted to achieve and a lot of more boxes I want to tick. And Madison Square Garden was one. And defending my world title in Liverpool's definitely one. And there's talk of a massive 2020 and all that disappears if I slip up November 23rd. So I'm fully motivated. I worked hard to be a world champion and I'm going to work even harder to keep it, and that all starts November 23rd.
Obviously, we talked about that voluntary defence. We looked at that top 15. We knew that John was the mandatory, and you were keen to make sure you faced your mandatory. Keen that you fought a domestic rival as well. You wanted to make sure you knew that you were in for a proper fight. And all these talks about Anfield and the meetings, they're all irrelevant until November the 24th.
Yeah, definitely. I've always been, every fight in my career has been a must-win from my debut till now. I've always felt that to get to where I want to be, I can't afford to lose, and it's exactly the same, if not more important now. I need to keep winning, and I want to see how good I am and test myself against some of the biggest names in the division and the biggest names in boxing, and I can't go on and do that if I lose to John Ryder, and I'm fully motivated. He's a good fighter, he's on a good run of form, but so am I. I'm in a good form in my career. I'm number one in the world for a reason, and the best version of me beats any super middleweight on the planet, and that includes John Ryder.
Same question for you as was for Pricey, really. Talking about making these other fights, you are a name right now that is striking fear into the division as well. You know, I put Canelo's team up with those likes. You know, I've been involved in those conversations, those boardrooms where Callum Smith gets fired into the equation. I see the eyes say, no, not yet. You know, it's people believe that super middle is a struggle for you, being the size that you are. But you know, I know being on the inside, it's not as difficult as people seem, and still very much the aim is to clear up in the 168-pound division.
Yeah, people always talk about 175, and it is an option. You know, I'd love to be a 2-weight world champion. You know, what I said before, I want to stay in boxing to achieve as much as I can, and a 2-weight world champion is something I would like to do, but I want to clear up a super middle. I want to try and unify the division. If I can do that, then the next goal will be trying not be undisputed, and I'm massive for the weight, but I've got a great team, a great nutritionist, and I'm very dedicated, and I do the weight well, and my last few performances suggest that I can do it and perform at it, and as long as that's the case, then I'll do it. I'll keep winning, and like I say, I want to clean up the division.
Finally, we know that all eyes are on November 23rd. It's going to be a very tough fight for you. We saw Darrell on Saturday night. Obviously, we're pushing the WBC to order that fight against Darrell as the Diamond Champion, and also Billy Joe Saunders, obviously now part of the Matchroom and Sky Sports team as well. Big fights out there for you if you can come through John Ryder on November 23rd.
Yeah, there's massive fights. I'm in a division where there's 4 undefeated world champions, and I believe I'm the best. And if you've got a belt in my weight division, then you're part of my plans. And they're the fights that I want. They're the fights that do motivate me. But like I said before, I'm fully focused on November 23rd and John Ryder. And I don't just want to win. I want to win, do a good job, and put on a big performance.
Thank you, Callum. I'm sure it's going to be a great fight for the WBC, Diamond, WBA and Ring Magazine World Championship, the creme de la creme, this title here, the best of the division. And we look forward to a great domestic World Championship fight in this great city, November 23rd at the M&S Bank Arena. Great undercard as well, plenty more to be added moving forward. And as I said, Fight Pass tickets go on sale at 2 p.m. today, general sale at 2 p.m. tomorrow. We're going to have Callum and John up here, and also Craig and Chris and the other lads for photos, and everybody available to the media. Thank you as always. I know it's easy for me to stand up here and say I love Liverpool, but I do love Liverpool. There is nothing quite like a fight night in Liverpool and then also back to the Hilton for a few beers after. That is a great, great spot on a Saturday night. So thank you as always, and we'll see you. Look forward to a great show November 23rd. Thank you.